Hello out there. We're on the air. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome back to another episode, another edition of the Daily Bitcoin Journey. Let me find my page here. Good to see you. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. I'm going to keep saying that over and over again until I like Tuesdays. That's my plan. Bailey's in the house. Good morning, my friend. Jason, how we doing, fellas? Good to see you. It is Tuesday. And Tuesdays, as everybody knows on this show, are not my favorite. But today is a good day. I think we're going to have a really good show today and a good day today. I'm throwing it out there. I'm speaking it into existence today. So let's kick things off. Let's start with the metrics first today. We're not going to waste much time. We got a lot to cover and not a whole lot of time to cover it. So here is the metrics. Hopefully things are okay today. Yesterday and the last couple shows here have been dog shit in terms, not the content, obviously, but the quality of it. I don't know what's going on. I think it's my internet. I need to replace this, whatever you call it, router, but it's not available yet. So in the meantime, I've kind of closed everything off on my computer. I had like a million tabs open. I'm guessing that contributed to it. But hopefully everything sounds okay. Everything looks okay. It was just the sound was really off yesterday. So I apologize for that. Hopefully today's better. Maybe just give me a quick, I don't have headphones in when I do the show. So just, if you don't mind, if you're in YouTube or zap.stream, just let me know if you can hear me okay and the mic sounds okay. Oh, look at over at zap.stream. We got Letha over there. We got Crypto Heathen. And Daniel. Good morning, everybody, over on zap.stream. If you want to join the zap.stream chat, you can head to bitcoinjourney.ca/ oh, there it is right here. It's on the screen. bitcoinjourney.ca/stream. So here is the metrics. Holy, fees just really shot up in the last block. So we're currently block height 837,248. The fees were incredibly low. Look at the last 5 blocks there, 10,9,989 sats per VByte. So that's something that you have to pay attention to every time you're sending a Bitcoin transaction on layer 1. You have to pay attention to the fees. And when they're low, that's when you want to be sending. When it's low, you go. When it's high, you, I don't know, stop. But it just jumped up to 24 sats per VByte. So I don't know what the heck happened, but it doesn't much matter. We're doing the show. We're not sending any Bitcoin right now, but fees have been very reasonable lately, which is good to see. The last couple of miners here were the Binance Pool, via BTC, and Pool. So that is the block height. That is courtesy of mempool.space. Great resource for any Bitcoiner out there. April 2nd today, the block height, as I said, was 837,997. Price today dropped. Ooh. Heavy crash. Heavy crash in Bitcoin. But the good news is this is pretty funny. So I said I sent some money into Bull Bitcoin last night to buy some Bitcoin because I saw that it dipped to like 68,000, I think, last night, US. And I fell asleep. So before I could actually purchase the Bitcoin, I fell asleep. It was pretty late. I shouldn't have been doing that late. I just wanted to buy some cheap Bitcoin. But anyways, it worked out perfectly because when I woke up this morning, it was 65,000. So I got more sleep and I got more sats. So there you go. 1 year ago today, you could have purchased one Bitcoin for $27,913 US dollars. And 4 years ago, how about this? One Bitcoin, $6,814 US dollars. The Moscow time today, $1 US dollar will get you 1,521 sats. An even better deal than yesterday. Yesterday was the deal of the lifetime in Bitcoin. Today is the deal of a lifetime in Bitcoin. Here in Canada today, we dipped a little bit under 90K. We got 89,000 bucks Canadian, making the moose jaw time here, $1 Canadian, $1 loonie, $1 Monopoly dollar with Justin Trudeau's face on it will get you 1,128 sats. So there you go. I mean, I agree with this, Brennan. I'm all in for more sleep and more sats. It worked out perfectly. And sometimes things just do. Sometimes things are meant to happen. And so I got a lot more sats. That's the key. I love getting more sats, even if it's like 5,000 more sats. If I wait 5 minutes to get 5,000 more sats, I'll do that every time. Sometimes it goes the other way, but we're not paying attention to cents. We're paying attention to sats. Trademark, daily Bitcoin journey. The daily Bitcoin is actionable and logical discussion for Bitcoiners and for future Bitcoiners. I missed that off the top, but I do see some familiar faces in here. So you know what the show is all about. We've been getting quite a few new faces, although after yesterday's show, we lost, I think, 5 or 6 subscribers. Talking about evil, good versus evil, which is okay. I kind of once in a while, I like doing shows like that because it kind of weeds out certain people. I mean, I don't need to really agree with everyone on everything, but it's nice if people kind of are working towards the same goal, have similar values. And so yesterday's show was a little bit different than what I'm used to doing here, but I think it was important. And even if we lose some subscribers because of it, I don't know if it's because it pissed people off or if YouTube just cut a few loose. Either way, the sun came up again today. James Bond is in the house. Tommy is in the house. We ain't many this morning. Yeah, that's the thing about Bitcoin too, is when the price is running up, people, the number of people on the show are usually double. So shout out to everybody who's here every day, regardless of the price. We're touching 65K. Does that mean we dropped? Oh, well, doesn't matter. Losing subscribers, I think it was because of the show I did yesterday. Talking about, not really religion, I guess, in a sense. I do think it is a topic that we need to be talking about more. Not which religion is right, but good versus evil. And we've definitely strayed so far to the side of evil that we hardly even recognize it anymore. So that's what we talked about yesterday, and I'll talk about it again. It's not today, but in the future. I do think it is an important topic, and people have been just made so uncomfortable to talk about it. And I think that that's wrong. So anyways, we should also give a shout out to a couple people. There was somebody in the YouTube comment yesterday brought this up, and also Noah brought this up in our Living in the Future chat. But they said that it's actually not the money is the root of all evil. It's the love of money that's the root of all evil. So I want to bring that up. I said yesterday that I'm not a overly religious guy, and I'm not, an expert on the religious topics in the Bible and all that kind of stuff, but that's just kind of my spin on it and view on it. I put fiat in front of it. So love of money or fiat money are both the root of all evil in the world. So thank you for the correction. I appreciate that, because we need it around here sometimes. Okay, so let's check in on what's next here. I got a lot going on in front of me. What the hell is I going to do? Oh, this is some breaking news, some bad breaking news yesterday out of Bull Bitcoin here in Canada. So Bull Bitcoin is still my number one exchange, even though yesterday, I'm going to bring up the tweet here just so I don't get anything wrong here, but Bull Bitcoin, they don't have their own. Why they do. So this is a tweet from Francis yesterday. So for those who maybe aren't familiar, and even if you're not in Canada, I think this is kind of applicable to you, but this is from Francis. This is the CEO, I believe, of Bull Bitcoin. He said, it's the end of an era. In-person payments at Canada Post will now require identity verification. So just a bit of a background on this. 6 months ago, I think it was last summer, maybe more than that, 8 months ago now, Bull Bitcoin announced that you could actually buy Bitcoin with cash at Canada Post. You didn't have to provide a name, phone number, ID, anything. You could buy it at the post office. I've heard that people have done it before. So anyways, April 15th, 2024, Bull Bitcoin customers using the in-person payments at Canada Post will have to perform identity verification before they can complete a transaction. This decision is entirely out of our hands and was mandated to us as a condition to continue offering the account funding service at Canada Post. So, shitty day. I thought yesterday was April Fool's. I thought it was an April Fool's joke, but it wasn't. So what I would say to that, two things. Number one, if you are in Canada, take advantage. We have from April 2nd to April 15th. We can still purchase non-KYC Bitcoin. So take advantage of that as much as you possibly can in these next 2 weeks. If you don't have a Bull Bitcoin account, in the description, you can click the link there. I think you get $20 for free for using my link. But either way, get an account, get some Bitcoin with cash, because we might not ever be able to do this again in a structured manner. There's always going to be P2P markets. And I think that it's going to be more and more common over time. I actually think that we'll stop buying Bitcoin at some point. Probably, I don't know a time frame on it, but there will be a point where nobody's really buying Bitcoin anymore. People are just earning Bitcoin. And when that happens, it's going to be a good day for all of us. So that's number one. Go buy as much Bitcoin as you possibly can from with cash. But the second one there is with the non-KYC stuff. I don't think I think people are making a bigger deal of it than it is. That's my opinion. I could be totally wrong. I could be way out in left field here, but I think that people are kind of overblowing the non-KYC aspect of it. And my logic for that is because our governments and our centralized powers, the reason why Bitcoin exists, to get away from that, they're so far behind everything. And I think they're going to have a very hard time coming after people for their Bitcoin purchases, sales, spendings. And all you want to do, similar to if you're getting chased by a bear in the forest, you just don't want to be the slowest person, right? And it's the same thing with Bitcoin. You don't want to be the lowest hanging fruit there. So what you can do when this option ends is just get your Bitcoin off of the exchanges for sure. Once it's to a sufficient amount that it's going to create a good UTXO, probably wait until you have at least 200,000 or 300,000 sats on the exchange before you withdraw it, just so you don't have a bunch of small UTXOs. And if you don't know what that means, you should probably take a look into it because it could create a lot of problems for you in the future. So with that, get it off the exchanges once it's at a decent amount. But the second one there is that instead of going towards the ETFs, buy Bitcoin and self-custody it yourself. Because I think that those are going to be the two that they come after first, the exchanges and the ETFs, because those are direct, pretty much, they're easy for them, the lowest hanging fruit. And so don't obsess over trying to get non-KYC Bitcoin. You're probably going to be fine. And if not, then Bitcoin's going to fail, I think. If we get to a point where you can only use non-KYC Bitcoin, Bitcoin failed. That's my thoughts on it. I could be wrong on either of those two things, but I just don't see a scenario where they confiscate everybody's Bitcoin and then it continues to go up in value and it continues to go up in adoption. I don't know. Hopefully I'm wrong. Or hopefully they just leave us alone. That'd be the best case scenario. Okay, what's going on over in zap.stream? Letho is over there. Jose, Daniel sent 121 sats on there. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. You can send sats on zap.stream. And Crypto Heathen says the love of money led to the creation of fiat money. Exactly. And that is what we talked about yesterday. That's what I got in trouble from YouTube for. No, I don't know. I'm kind of making that up. I'm not into Bitcoin for religion, but as long as we are not dogmatic, no problem for me. Yep, I agree with that. I would never push religion on anybody. I would never tell them what they should or shouldn't believe in. That's completely up to everybody out there. And I think that the people who do push that, I don't love their intentions. I don't know. It's just, I would never do that. It's just, you have to differentiate good versus evil. And when you stick to those core values that are within certain religions, everybody has a much better life. And we've gone way too far away from that. So there we go. Let's keep things rolling here. So the quote for today's show, and I want to read this because the price dropped today. I'm sure the CNBC's, Fox News are going to be all over this. Bitcoin died again. Bitcoin crashed, going to zero. But I wanted to bring up this quote from Michael Saylor. And the quote is, I prefer a volatile appreciating asset over a stable depreciating one. Michael Saylor. So I prefer a volatile appreciating asset over a stable depreciating one. So with that, maybe I'll bring up this graphic here that I found on NOSTR. And this is actually from Grinder over on Zap.stream. I believe he's one of the guys over there at Zap.stream. So I saw this on his NOSTR page this morning. And you can see here, this is all the global currencies, 10-year returns versus the US dollar. So a couple things to note here is that you can see they're all red. So everything has fallen in comparison to the US dollar in the last 10 years. And the ones here in blue, I don't know how well you can see it or not, but these are all the G20 nations. So we got the Turkish lira, the Russian ruble, the Brazilian real, Japanese yen. Where's our Canadian dollar? Right here. So the Canadian dollar is down 23.8% in the last 10 years against the dollar. And then we look at the closest one, the one that's held its power. This is interesting. But the couple that have held its power against the US dollar are the Swiss franc, not overly surprising. So they've only lost 1.6% in the last 10 years to the US dollar. But then there's the Belizean dollar. The Trinidadian dollar has only lost 5% against the US dollar. And the Costa Rican colon, I don't know what it is, 5.7% down. So this is such an interesting chart just to see how you can really see which countries are in trouble and which ones have managed to kind of keep pace in a sense. But then you look at this part right here. This is the one that we need to pay attention to. Bitcoin, 21,000% up. So if you've held your savings, your wealth in any other currency other than Bitcoin, you've lost against the US dollar in the last 10 years. Some significantly. The Venezuelan bolivar, 99.9% down against the dollar, US dollar. So that's pretty interesting. I wanted to share that this morning. I figured people would enjoy that. It's something that we kind of know happened, but it's cool when you can see it in actual hard data. So there you go. So that's the stable depreciating assets versus the volatile appreciating asset of Bitcoin. So yes, we're down today. It's volatile. And I'm going to tie this into the main part of the show today in a little bit. And I think there were some issues before the show. So I hope everything is going to be okay here in terms of the transition to living in the future. But anyways, that's that. What else did we have here? So the last piece of news, this is, I'm just going to double check on the chats here. Yeah, I love that. That's from Crypto Heathen over on Zap.stream. The love of money led to the creation of fiat. Fiat is pure evil. It's engineered as a quiet theft, plain and simple dilution of wealth. Yes. And that's kind of the theme today. Everybody, we'll get to that. Rick Costa says half of us have smashed like the other half probably smell bad. Is that true? But even better than likes, we should give a shout out to Daniel, because there has been some likes, which we appreciate. Some comments, hopefully, we appreciate. But Daniel's over on Zap.stream sending the hardest money that's ever existed. Zapping. Love that. And also he says, nobody stands a chance without Bitcoin. Bingo. Okay, so let's go to this before we get to the main part of the show today. Where were we here? Right here. Okay, so this is from our friends over at Bitcoin News. This segment of the show, we go through the news around Bitcoin, what's happening around Bitcoin every day, and it's sponsored by our friends over at Bitcoin News. So a couple things on Bitcoin News before we get into this. Number one, make sure to go over to their Twitter account. They're doing a contest right now, or they're part of a contest, 21 days to halving. So for 21 days up to the halving on April 20th, or block height, they're doing a contest. So there's a bunch of cool things that they're giving away. Go enter it. Follow all the accounts. It's very easy. All you have to do is leave a comment under each post every day. But I think that there's a lot of people within this community here who are trying to win those, and hopefully somebody gets one. So that's the first one. But also check out Bitcoin News on YouTube. They've been paying a lot closer attention to their, sorry, this is very distracting even for me. They've been putting a lot of energy and attention into growing their YouTube. So make sure that if you are somebody who's on YouTube, go check out Bitcoin News. And I think they do a couple live shows every week, and they do a polished version once a week from their guy, Luke, over there. So this is what I wanted to show you. And this is from Bitcoin News. It says, Bitcoin miners are flocking to Ethiopia for their cheap hydropower, currently priced at 3 cents per kilowatt hour. 3 cents per kilowatt hour. So think about that for a second. So this is just looking at all the mining machines, the miners in Ethiopia. So I'm going to close that. I'm trying to keep as much bandwidth as possible here. So it was never a problem for me before. But anyways, sheesh, let's have some coffee. So think about that. We looked at the chart. Where's Ethiopia on this chart? I don't know if I can find it quickly or not. Okay, so the Ethiopian birr, that's a great name, has depreciated by 65% against the US dollar. So the Ethiopian currency has decreased by 65% in the last 10 years compared to the US dollar. So it makes a lot of sense for these companies, these miners from the US, to go invest in countries like Ethiopia. Where was the one we looked at the other day? I think it was in Argentina. But they take their currencies that have appreciated essentially against these smaller currencies. So they have so much power there, purchasing power there. So these companies, the Bitcoin mining companies, either hold US dollars or they hold Bitcoin, the two strongest currencies. And they're going into Ethiopia, they're going into Argentina, and they're investing money to mine Bitcoin. So they're pretty much doing this all for almost nothing. So that's the infrastructure costs plus 3 cents per kilowatt hour to mine Bitcoin. That's what their electricity costs there. So that's what Bitcoin is going to do over time slowly, is it's going to find the cheapest source of electricity, of energy. And that's where people are going to start mining Bitcoin. Pretty incredible stuff, honestly. And think about the impact that that's going to have on Ethiopia. Probably not initially. It's going to be very Americanized, I would imagine. But over time, as these countries start getting into Bitcoin more and more, and maybe their taxes start getting paid in Bitcoin, think about what kind of impact that has on their country. Very positive impact. And if you want to look at your kilowatt hour, I think in Manitoba here, the last time I checked, it was about 17 cents per kilowatt hour, just for some comparative there. And we have very cheap energy here in Manitoba. We have hydropower as well. I think that a lot of that gets siphoned off, though, to the crown corporations, you'd say, here. So if you want to check that out, you can go to your energy bill. Whoa, sorry about that. Sorry, new microphone. You can go to your energy bill and you can look at your total kilowatts for the month and then what that cost you. And then divide your cost divided by your kilowatts, I believe. Anyways, you can figure it out quite easily. It was 17% here, 17 cents per kilowatt hour last time I checked, but that was also a year ago. And Trudeau's added about 3 carbon taxes since then. So it's probably like 70 cents a kilowatt hour now. Okay, we got Dan in the chat this morning. Good morning, Dan. Free calculator, free online calculator. Any chance the government uses AI to match up wallets with KYCers and debank / cancel them? Probably. Probably. Where are the governments with AI? I have no idea. That's the kind of scary part for me. Is I kind of just assume that the government, especially here in Canada, is 10 years behind everything. And the reason I say that is because they have so much on their plate. Every single day, they're fighting a different scandal. Same with Biden in the US too. All these governments are they're so reactive instead of proactive with anything. And so I think that they're going to be lagging way behind in the technology aspect of it, the AI aspect of it. And the other part of that is that the very intelligent people of the world, the people, who can actually do stuff like this, they're not working for the government, especially here in Canada. So I do think that there's a chance that the government uses AI to match up wallets with KYCs and debank them. There's a chance, obviously, but I don't know. What would that look like? Let's walk through that. So the government uses AI to find your transactions, knowing that you bought Bitcoin, where it went to, and then they try to cancel you. But what could they really do with it? I mean, they could debank you. That'd be a very big issue for a lot of people. But over time, I think that we want to be working towards getting away from the chance of being canceled and debanked. I think that's kind of our goal for the next couple of years here as Bitcoiners, knowing that we're going to have this big target on our backs, is to slowly transition ourselves out of that, where if that were to happen, kind of ready for that. I'm not there yet, but it is something that I'm working towards. So, like I said, try to get as much non-KYC Bitcoin, even if, when Bull Bitcoin shuts down, there's still really good exchanges that offer non-KYC Bitcoin. I just don't think it's something that we need to really obsess over. But I could be wrong, like I said. And kind of my point to that is, like, if you think about it, if the non-KYC stuff were to come to an end and all of us do have, the non-KYC Bitcoin, the people who are coming in later, they won't even have a chance to get any non-KYC Bitcoin. So they're going to be all KYC'd. And so if Bitcoin actually is going to work out where everybody's using it and exchanging things with it, then I don't think we're going to be screwed there. I think we're going to have a few Bitcoin that we can potentially hide from it. But is there going to be a reason to do it if everybody's already KYC'd? I don't know. It's really weird to think about how this transition is going to go. And I still believe that this next 10 years, there's going to be people who go into this system of Bitcoin and freedom. And that's how they do all their business, is just with Bitcoiners. It's going to be a small amount, but there are going to be people who do that. The other side of that is there's going to be people who stick to the government control, because the government's going to start implementing CBDCs, universal basic income, and the people who don't want to work, the people who don't want to add value to the world and just want to watch fucking Netflix all day, they're going to be able to do that. But they're going to be fully controlled within that system. And so there's going to be that split over time. For a while there's going to be people who are kind of doing a bit of both. So It'll be interesting to see. Let's just say that. What the heck is this? RS. Look at that. We got our very first super chat of the Bitcoin journey. I think that's what it is. $5. My man or woman. But that's it. So here's the comment from RS with a nice little super chat in there. The first one ever on the daily Bitcoin journey. Before Bitcoin can become real legal tender in the US and Canada, wouldn't the capital gains tax have to go away? Is that possible? Yes, it would. Because if people are actually going to be using Bitcoin in their day-to-day life, if they're going to be earning Bitcoin and spending Bitcoin, there's no way we'll be able to track all of that in our day-to-day lives. If you go to the coffee or the coffee shop, purchase a nice mocha for $5 and you paid $4 for that, but you got a $5 coffee, there's no way that every person on earth is going to be able to track that as a $1 capital gain. So you got to pay tax on 50% of that disposition. So that's why I think that we are kind of overthinking everything here in terms of what's going to play out and the paranoia. But I do think that that's the side that you always want to lean to, is you want to be more paranoid than not, because we don't have any idea with the technology and everything that's coming. We have no idea what it's going to look like. So the best thing that we can do is just set ourselves up in the most appropriate way for it. But even with that comment, like the legal tender, it's already legal tender in El Salvador. And so if I were to go to El Salvador next week and, spend the week there, take out some El Salvadorian pesos or whatever they are, would I have to, if I exchanged it back in Canada, if I didn't spend it all and I exchanged it when I got back to Canada, do I have to pay a capital gain on that? That's just currency. And Bitcoin is legal tender there. So that's a currency in El Salvador. So I don't know. It's really tough to think through these things, and to give a real clear-cut answer, because the thing with that is the people at the top who are making these decisions, they still don't know what's going on. So how are we supposed to know what's going on if they don't know what's going on? All we can do is just prepare as best we can, keep spending Bitcoin, keep saving in Bitcoin, and that's what we're going to talk about right now. So big shout out to RS for the very first, wish I could take a picture of that, put it on the wall, the very first super chat on YouTube. We just I think they just got set up last week for the super chats, but we should also give some big shout outs to so Letha zapped 121 sats, saying another great show. Thank you, Letha. Jose zapped 121 sats as well. And there's a lot going on over there in the chat. So big shout out to Zap.stream. Big shout out to RS for that super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you. So let's get to the show here. I'm going to start with a couple things. This is all going to tie together in the end. If things go well. So here's what this next part here. The title of the show is, why does everything cost so much? I'm sure if you've been to the grocery store, filled up your car with gas, and in the last couple of years, you've seen it really go up. And they're telling us that inflation is like 2 or 3% per month, which is the biggest lie on earth. There's a lot of lies that they tell us, but the fact that they have the nerve to tell us that inflation is 3% is insane. It's actually insane. So if you believe a fraction of that to be the truth, then you need to check yourself. So anyways, what we're going to talk about here, and one person I've really been paying attention to within the Bitcoin world is Jeff Booth. And one thing he's a Canadian, probably my favorite Bitcoiner, honestly. But he talks about this all the time. He says, what does he say? The costs fall to the, I forget what it even is. It's hard to remember things on the show, but I've heard him say it 100 times. Costs fall to the lowest. I don't know. Somebody in the chat will know. But I've heard him say it 10 times. And that's the point of this, is that for people who aren't really knowledgeable with economics and money and how it all works, they hear that and they don't really understand what he's talking about. And so I want to take a little bit further deeper dive into it in terms of what does he actually mean by that? There it is. Thank you, Jose. Prices fall to the marginal cost of production. So I've heard Jeff Booth say that probably 100 times. Every podcast he goes on, he says that. And so I've finally started to put it together in my mind, thinking about it a little bit differently, because somebody like Jeff Booth, he speaks in a way he's a very intelligent guy. And I think that he's too detached from the average person in terms of what that actually means. Prices fall to the marginal cost of production. So we're going to talk about this. We're going to watch a short clip of Jeff here, and then we're going to talk about what the heck that means. So shout out to Justine in the chat. She said, took advantage of the dip and bought some more sats. Love that. Love that. And Sachi says, Manitoba rates are 9.6 cents per kilowatt hour. I was wrong. I'll have to verify that though, but I trust Sachi, my Manitoba compadre. So he says it's 9 cents per kilowatt hour. Still, that is pretty cheap. If that's the case, then maybe Manitoba will turn into a Bitcoin mining hub over time. Okay, so here is our man, Jeff Booth. Hopefully we're going to have him on the show one day soon. But in the meantime, we can just watch videos of him talking to other people. So here it is. This is about 2.5 minutes, and then we'll talk about it.
Network effect is taking off. It's just early. So if I'm in Canada, most of my friends don't realize that. How do you spend Bitcoin every day? Because I spend Bitcoin every day, and I give an incentive to companies that would take Bitcoin. I want to spend with those companies, but most of my friends don't do that, and it seems hard. And they ask me how do I do that? So I'm like you. I spend most of my time and energy creating the world that I want to see. It's just I'm very aware when you go to the question on how fast, the timing is determined by us. The timing is determined by each of us and our actions. And like you said, most people don't realize that the incentives within the existing system that keep them there actually hurt them.
Yeah, that's for sure. Let's move on. Yeah, actually, let me ask you another question within this system. Why do you think a politician and like American economist or whatever you want to call them, they incentivize to say that inflation is required for a productive society?
I honestly don't know if many of them even have done the work to understand that it isn't. So it's such a challenging thought because they've grown up in it. They were taught it. Their PhD thesis was on it. I can't. I think economics is super easy, actually, like super easy. It's just made to look hard, so that people won't ask the question because they don't think they're smart enough to ask the question. In economics, um, prices fall to the marginal cost of production. So prices fall because we create better and more value, and we use the things with more value, and we trade with each other all over the world. That's it. I think that's it. Everything else is a ruse to stop that. Stop that from happening. It's a control structure, and that means all political systems on top of that control structure are also control structures. If you ask somebody, I just got in this debate with a good friend of mine.
Okay, are we back? I believe we are. So that is Jeff Booth talking about a couple things. He said that everybody asks how long this is going to take to play out. And he said it depends on us. We're the ones who decide that, because the more of our energy, of our time we put into this new system, into Bitcoin, the faster that old system goes away. So we are the ones who are still feeding that old system without even really knowing it. If you're somebody who goes to work 9 to 5 and you have a pension, and your pension, your long-term savings account is in a company like Google or Apple, and all you're doing is just continuing to feed that beast, that's the system goes on for longer. With the, I think it's the top 6 or 7 stocks in the market that have like 90, I don't know what it is, but 80 or 90% of the total market cap. We're continuing to feed that system with our actions. And so the faster we want this to end, the more time we need to spend in Bitcoin. And so we talked about supporting other Bitcoiners. And so one thing I want to kind of start this little segment here with is that every day on the show, I'm going to be talking about a small business, a local business in a way, that is accepting Bitcoin and wants to get out in front of more Bitcoiners. And so today, the first one of the show, and I'm actually drinking their coffee this morning. I got a couple packages sent last week. So the first one is Grey Ridge Coffee. And there you can find them. They're actually a local coffee manufacturer here. They do all their own beans. It's really good coffee. This one is the Ethiopian one, I think. But the one that I really like is the dark roast. And so it's a local company here. The guy's a Bitcoiner. He's a really good guy. And he's actually going to give us a discount on it. I'm going to talk about kind of the discounts and how this is all going to work in terms of going into this Bitcoin world. And so if you're interested, if you're a coffee person, consider checking out greyridgecoffee.ca. I'm going to put the link in the description below for you. So it's greyridgecoffee.ca, and you can actually get 25% off your order just by using the discount code KNG for King. KNG. So order a couple things of coffee, test it out, and try out the discount code 25% off. And if you would rather pay in Bitcoin, this, like I said, this guy is a Bitcoiner. So if you'd rather pay in Bitcoin, just shoot me an email, 88sats@proton.me, and I'll put you in touch with him. Or you could probably find his contact info from the website, greyridgecoffee.ca. So kind of the beauty of all this, kind of the beauty of all this is that as we move away from this old system, and Jeff was talking about supporting Bitcoiners, spending time in that system. As we continue doing that, things are going to get cheaper for us. And I'm going to talk about this in a little bit different way. So let's talk about his thesis there. He says that the marginal cost of production over time. So what does that mean? Let's think about a car. So 30 years ago, think about how much it would have cost to manufacture, to assemble, build a vehicle. Think about how many humans were required to go through the assembly line, check all the parts, put together all the parts, screw them all together. Think about how much time and energy that would have cost 30 years ago. Fast forward to today, where you look at a car manufacturing plant, it's all robotics. There's no humans there anymore other than making sure the robots are doing their jobs. So all of those humans, all of that cost, all of that energy is out of the equation. And so every time you go to purchase something, an item of anything, whether it's food, a new sweatshirt, a new car, the reason it costs so much is the energy and the cost that went into creating that item, right? So we would think that because we've saved so much in terms of human labor, energy, and costs, that the price of vehicles over time should go down. If we can make them faster for less money, less cost, that should reduce our cost, right? So that's an example of the cost of production, prices falling to the marginal cost of production. That's what he's talking about there, that as technology improves, as we take human labor out of the equation, as our costs of producing that item, whatever it is, car in this case, as that goes down, our costs to pay for that should also go down. So that's the cost of production. but there's also the cost of selling. Think if you're a small business now, think about the difference there that we have available with the internet. So even when using Grey Ridge as an example here, 20 years ago, they would have had to get a big contract with a grocery chain. They would have taken the majority of their profits from that. And they would have left Grey Ridge Coffee with a small little shavings of profits at the end of that transaction. So that would have been their cost of selling it, is they would have had to pay Walmart or Sobeys or whoever that is to sell it on their behalf. But now with the internet, you can find a YouTube channel, the Daily Bitcoin Journey, pay them a small amount in promotion, and you can get that out in front of people, and you can cut out the Walmarts, you can cut out the Sobeys. So that decreases your cost of selling. So in turn, our costs of that coffee should go down. And in this case, because he's providing us with a discount code, it does. But for the most part, that hasn't really had an impact on the cost and the prices that we've seen, right? So if these companies' costs of selling are going down, why isn't the cost of their product going down? That is, the cost of selling is the promotion aspect of it. So think about 20, 30 years ago and how much, if you're a small business, if you're Grey Ridge Coffee, you would have had to pay the newspaper, the radio. That's the only way that you could have got your message out and let people know that you exist, what your products are, what you sell. You would have had to pay a large amount every month in advertising fees just so that people would know about your company. But now, fast forward again, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have YouTube, we have TikTok, we have NOSTR, and all of these are completely free to use. So the cost of selling that item has decreased even further. So how does it make any sense if our cost of production, if our cost of selling goes down on every single item out there in the world because of technology? Why does it cost us more to buy now? That's the issue. That's the question that a lot of people have, and they don't really know the answer to it. They think that one of them is because the government's printing too much money. Number two is because these CEOs are very greedy and they don't even care about the costs. They just want to charge as much as possible because everybody's doing it. But in reality, it's not that we're printing money. It's that we're just creating more debt. So think about the US dollar. We looked at that graph. The US dollar is the strongest currency on earth. That currency has $31 trillion? What is it now even? $34 trillion? Somebody will know. I think it's 34. Anyways, a lot. The US currency, the strongest currency out there, has a lot of debt attached to it. We'll go with 34. And so with that in mind, they owe $34 trillion to who, for one? To who do they owe $34 trillion to? The central banks. But consider that $34 trillion, that currency, the pensions, the healthcare, all the other unrealized liabilities with that. Oh, I'm sure the internet's going to go down here just as I'm talking about this. Fucking thing. Okay. So that's what's happening here. We're not printing money. The CEOs of these companies are fairly greedy people, but that's not what's causing the cost. That'd be a small fraction of it. But the problem is that we have so much debt attached to that dollar. Every single day you go to work, 9-to-5 job, 2 out of the 5 days a week, you pay taxes for that. It just goes straight to the government. You don't even see that. It comes directly out of your bank account. It doesn't even touch your bank account. It comes directly off your paycheck, goes to the government. What's the government doing with that money? Are they building roads? Are they building schools? Are they doing good for the world? Or for your country, I mean? No. They're paying off their debt. half of that, I think it's half in the US of your tax money goes to paying off government's debt. That is insane. So and that's only going to go up. The debt spiral that we're in right now, prices are only going to go up from here. And so it doesn't matter. It could cost pretty much zero to produce an item nowadays. But because we have to put all of our life's energy, our work, into paying taxes to service that debt on behalf of the government, that's why everything costs so much. Because instead of you going to work, you adding value to the world, and you being able to take advantage of that increase in purchasing power because of the technology, because of the costs of everything going down, plus your purchasing power going up for working, instead of things getting cheaper, it's actually getting more expensive because of the debt that our governments owe. It's an insane concept, but it is the world that we have lived in forever. Well, in our lifetime anyways, but it's just insanity. And so it's easy to bitch about it. And it's easy to say, like, poor us. But the thing is here is we have a choice. We have a choice. And so what I'm going to tell you here and what I'm going to advise you to do is a couple things. Number one, start saving in Bitcoin. Do not carry hardly any dollars, or even, the old system there, because that the stock market, all of that is tied into this whole illusion that keeps going on. And if you compare the US dollar to Bitcoin, the US dollar has $34 trillion worth of debt attached to it. How much does Bitcoin have? How much debt does Bitcoin have to it? I don't know. Zero? There's nothing. There's nothing attached to Bitcoin. It's an asset that you can take self-custody of. You own without any sort of interference or a debt attached to it. So start saving in Bitcoin. Start putting your monthly spending cash into Bitcoin. And I talked about this last week, and I've got a lot of good feedback from that episode, actually. But think about, this is a perfect day to be talking about our theory with that, because the theory there was that we hold 75% of our monthly expenses that we can pay at the stores in Bitcoin, and we hold 25% of that in cash or your debit, your bank, but preferably cash. And so today would have been a perfect example. If you did have to go to the grocery store today, if you need to buy something today and the price dropped from 70 to 65, today is a day where you would buy that item with cash instead of spending your Bitcoin. So that's why you keep a small portion of it in cash for the down days like today. But then when we see it go the other way against your marker, and if you haven't watched that episode yet, I would recommend it. But then you spend some of your Bitcoin. So things are over time getting cheaper for you. And the next thing there is start buying from Bitcoiners. Not only are you going to see an increase in your purchasing power just by holding Bitcoin, but if you're buying from Bitcoiners, you're getting perfect example, Gray Ridge Coffee. You get 25% off because he's saving those costs. Instead of selling it at Walmart, he can cut that 25% out and save that on your end. And that's what the internet has unlocked for us. That's what technology has unlocked for us, is we don't need those big chains anymore to take all the profits. We can sell direct Bitcoiner to Bitcoiner. And the best way to do that is to join NOSTR. Get on there and start connecting with people. Start finding other Bitcoiners that you can buy and sell from. Because the more you can spend in that system, in the new system, Bitcoin system, the less you even have to give a shit what's happening, how much debt the government owes. 34, 38, 45 trillion, who cares? The quicker you can move out of that system, the less you're going to give a shit about it. So these are the things that we have to start doing today, and even living in the future. So yesterday, and the people in this chat can attest to this, but yesterday after the show, on Living in the Future, our membership tier, we have a group chat in there. And after the show yesterday, I went and checked it. 222 new messages in there. And that's just a small group of Bitcoiners sharing ideas, sharing resources, helping each other out. I think on there yesterday, they figured out how to install Linux on their laptop. That was the theme of the day. So they're talking each other through this. I'm just kind of looking at all the messages, but that's what you have to be doing. You have to be connecting with other Bitcoiners. And I think that the Living in the Future membership tier is a perfect way to do that. So if you are somebody who wants to become a better Bitcoiner, if you want to build a business within Bitcoin and start earning sats, earning Bitcoin, and if you want to continue growing your network and finding new Bitcoiners out there that you can do transactions with and interact with on a day-to-day, week-to-week, and month-to-month basis, consider joining that. You can do 7 days for free trial. We're going to be doing a show right after this. We're going to be talking about April. We're doing a fresh start. We're going through about 8 different things this month of all the things I just talked about. We're going through our security setup, our inheritance stuff. We're looking at different ways to earn Bitcoin, some things we can start doing every single day to create more and start earning more in your life in Bitcoin terms. So with that, if you're interested in joining Living in the Future, in the description below, hop over there. We're going to be going there right now. So for everybody else, James Bond is in there. He said, more than splendid group and strong. No bullshit allowed. It's the truth. And it's something I think that is going to be very important as we head into this next decade. Not only holding your wealth in there, but also your network aspect of it. And this stuff is going to be so important. If you have Bitcoiners in your life that you can interact with, you can buy and sell from, that's going to further push you away from that old system. And that's exactly what we're building here. We're interacting with each other, but we're also building businesses together in Bitcoin. So there you go. This is from Dan, another Living in the Future fella. He says, to put a trillion in perspective, 1 trillion seconds equals 31,710 years. I'd be interested to see what a million seconds is for comparison. Big shout out to everybody in Zapdot stream today. Ted sends 69 sats. Thank you, my friend. Phoenix Falconer says, have we talked about bull Bitcoin yet? Yes, we did. Early on the show. We're not pumped about it. But there's things we can do. And I think that with everything, there'll probably be a way to get around it. Even, I think it was a couple months ago, bull Bitcoin changed. Which we figured out within the Living in the Future group. So I think that even with this ID verification thing, I think that there'll be ways around that as well. But stuff we can't talk about on the public show, obviously. And Letha, thank you. She says the U.S. national debt is 34.6 trillion. We'll go with. So there you have it, folks. We're going to head over to Living in the Future. We're going to talk about our April. We're going to have a big month, and we're going to. Is the internet stopped? No. We got to figure out what we have, how to protect that. Then we're going to do something kind of weird, I guess you'd say, in a way, but we're going to change our mindset on something. And then we're going to be figuring out ways to earn Bitcoin, to buy and sell with Bitcoin, and just really increase the network there. That's kind of the key. So fresh start April begins today. Hopefully we'll see you over there. It'll be about a 20-minute show today, and then we're going to do another one tomorrow. So I appreciate you all very much in the Zapdot stream and in the YouTube. Big shout out to RS for the very first super chat on the Bitcoin journey. And I hope you guys and girls have the best Tuesday of your life today. And hopefully we'll see you over in the Living in the Future tier. You can just click the link in the description, try it out for 7 days. You will not regret it. I promise. We'll see you over there. Bye-bye.